What is it for?
Facebook, I guess you can go out and boost your whatever.
This isn't working.
Make more people see it.
Not working.
And so, what they charge?
They charge you for that.
$30 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Times
Okay.
30. Ooh,
Yeah,
times 15.
yeah.
Well, there goes the one you wanted to worry about getting paid. You said, gee, I need a little cash there.
Thanks, man.
Oh, that was
That's
like,
bad.
I was,
30 a day. Times
All ready to go?
30.
Yeah.
Ready, set.
900.
yeah,
Oh,
I gotta get
Yeah.
home. My birthday.
yes. You know, did you get one of these?
I did, thank you.
I would like to call to order the regularly scheduled Sylvania Township Board of Trustees meeting on December 17th at 6 p.m.
We'll call the roll. Let's see, Mr. Haddad?
Here.
Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Genowine?
Here.
Simcoe here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyone have any corrections or changes?
Motion to approve the minutes for December 3rd.
Second.
Kevin, second?
Yes.
Okay, call, Mr. Haddad?
Yep.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes. Additions or deletions to the agenda this evening?
Yes, I'd like to, under Administrator, I'd like to just give you an update on Fire Station Number 1.
All right. Hearing of the public? Did
Nobody
anybody
signed
sign
in?
in?
Nope.
Zoning Department? I guess that puts...
Good evening. I've got the monthly report for November for the zoning department. We had 26 permits issued at a value of just over $800,000 for the month of November, and year-to-date we're at 262 and about $37.5 million in value. And our single-family dwelling permits, we're at, if you can drop down to just above that. The bottom of the last page. Thank you. We're at 79 for year-to-date, and at a little over 19 million in value, and that's an 88% increase on number of housing permits from last year, and a 49% increase on the dollar value on housing permits. Okay. On zoning complaints, we had 11 for the month, and we're at 174 year-to-date. So year-to-date, we're a little bit under what we were for the past 2 years, which is a good thing. On our meetings for the month of November, the Zoning Commission had the zone change that this board heard a couple weeks ago for 3621 McCord Road, the R1 to R3 PUD. The BZA had 3 variance requests regarding signage, all for the same property, Gross Electric on Reynolds Road. 2 of those were approved and 1 was denied. Project plan review was extremely busy. I don't really want to do that again, 5 in 1 month. As much as I like the business, that was pretty hectic. But we had the ground penetrating radar services that's building their new headquarters building on New West Road. They're currently on Central Avenue. Of course, Genoa Bank, we all know about that one. The gas station addition at the Fairways Bar and Grill on Central and Centennial. The new building on Kings Point in Sylvania, and then Brown Automotive is building a new building on the rear of their property.
They're putting a gas station in at Fairways?
Yes.
Up on the corner there.
Front and back. Regular pumps in the front, diesel pumps in the rear. Next page, please. For the items of note, nothing really major, just the Colony Apartments have finally broken ground on McCord Road, and Starbucks has pulled their sign permits and all their other permits, so it looks like it can be opening pretty soon. Speaking of McCord Road, that seems to be kind of the hot spot lately. We've had some inquiries regarding 3427 McCord Road, which is at the corner of Ridgewood Trail, looking at possibly another Carytown North type development with duplex condos. So don't be surprised to see that coming down the road in the next year, perhaps. And then the other thing I have is Resolution 13129, fee for zoning verification letter. As the economy has improved, we continue to get more and more requests regarding properties, that wanting information for it. And what this is for is the involved request, not somebody just calling up and saying, hey, can I get a letter for verifying that this is a commercial property and that I could have a retail store there, something like that. This is the ones that we have to do, go upstairs, dig into the files, research, because they want history going all the way back on the property as far as variances, permits granted, any violations. Springfield and Monclova Township each charge $50 for this, and the City of Sylvania is about to start, if they haven't already, charging $50 for the zoning verification letter. So we would like to start doing that as well.
I'll offer 13-129 approval fee for zoning verification letter.
Second.
A little discussion though before we do. I just want to say that falls under public records, but this is going to be a separation of that so people know in the public what we're doing. Because it is a public records request, but it's going to be under different, I have it
Well,
for zoning.
But it's actually a little different.
I understand that, but I'm saying this just falls under zoning, that's why I'm approving
If
this.
they want a record, they can ask for it.
Right.
If they want Darryl to do is put a letter together.
Right.
Right.
To make it.
You have to do that for certain things. No, I'm just making sure clear in the public that it's not, a simple public records request.
We charge for police reports. and-
Correct, we should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I just want it on record that people know that stuff too.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Adia?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. General?
Yes.
Thank you. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Darrell.
No, I think we should start charging fees, so we're not going up on taxes.
Public Works, Greg, you wanted to, I hate to put him on the spot, you want to just give a little update on the perfect storm we had with the...
As we know, with the late leaf pickup and the early snowfall, where it's been a roller coaster ride for the month of December, possibly establish our leaf pickup tomorrow, if not Thursday, and the first neighborhoods would be Country Walk, the King Road area by the police station, then it would be St. James, and that's about what we have now. So it will probably last a few more weeks on and off in between the snowstorms, and we're doing what we can, but the perfect storm.
We got rain coming Friday, right? So that'll help melt some of the stuff off, because I've been getting a lot of calls that don't it took rains, and when he leaves, I said it's just because the storm came so quick that he didn't get to your leaves, like, telling him about your situation, so. Okay?
Yeah. It's been a few years since we experienced this, but
It happens once in a while, what do you do? Thanks.
Thanks, Greg. Chief, monthly report?
Excuse me, you have before you the monthly report for November. Go down to the bottom of the page, Jim. You see we had 174 fire responses, which is 84 than what we did last year. And currently we're at 976 fire responses, which is 221 from what we did last year. Next page. I'm happy to say that January 1, you'll have to see this blank page one more time. January 1, we're starting back on the Firehouse EMS, or RMS program. It will be web-based, so our crews will be able to do the reports from the field and get those started. But on the bottom of that last page, you'll see that we had 548 EMS incidents during the month of November, which is an increase of 192. And we're running about 353 for the entire year ahead, a little bit ahead. Next page are our mutual aid incidents. As you know, we keep pretty close tabs on this. We gave mutual aid to Springfield Township twice one's for a structure fire, one's for a standby while they were at a structure fire, and the last 3, starting with Heather Place, Springfield Township filled in or came out to the structure fire that we had 3 times. So we're still a little ahead of the game on that. Page 5. Public safety education. During the month of November, we conducted 5 tours at the new number 1 fire station. And as you know, we did do the open house that Sunday at the new fire station. And we tried counting people, but after about 225, because people were coming in and leaving. So I think it's safe to say that we had a pretty good turnout at that open house that we conducted. Projects, we had Deputy Chief Freilich did 12 plan reviews. He did 4 license inspections for preschools or daycares, 6 environmental reviews for land and property, 6 final acceptance tests for sprinkler systems, and the crews did 187 fire inspections. We're winding down now. We have very few fire inspections left to do. Most of them are just cleaning up on some re-inspects that we have left outstanding. Installed 3 smoke detectors and 1 CO detector. As far as the monthly training goes, last month and this month we had no Lucas County EMS training. We start back again in January. The guys did go over our cold water rescue equipment, got the ice suits out and the ropes, so if we have to go into cold water, we'll be protected. And then we went over proper procedures for emergency responders to make safe scenes, like at car accidents. And then we also went over some educational on the toxic effects of smoke. That was through that computer system that we have. The next page you have a thank you letter to Lieutenant Morris. They did a child safety night at Stranahan. We sent an engine out there and they instructed the kids on some fire safety things. Following page, another letter from Olivet, where we also went out to Olivet and did a education for them that was a Community Helpers Week, so we had the engine go out there and the guys explain to the children what we did as firefighters. The next page is, and I think I mentioned this during our budget hearing, but there are 2 EVT mechanics on the NFPA board that help write the emergency vehicle technician qualifications. There are only 2 in the United States. Al Hassenfratz is one of them, so that's a big feather in our cap and in Greg's cap to have him on that board. That's something that it's pretty difficult to get on, so he's shown proficiencies to get on that. And then the last page is from a Kathy White, thanking us for saving her father. Actually, they sent it to Chief Rodas, the city police chief, for some reason, and then he forwarded it to me, but I did speak to her, and she was very appreciative of the gentleman that arrived on scene, identified that he was having a cardiac incident through a 12-lead EKG, got him to the hospital. He did go through open heart surgery, recovered, and came home for Thanksgiving. So unless you have something for me, that's all I have.
I don't know how difficult it would be, but I was kind of wondering if it's possible to sort the calls we get in terms of times and by the station. So like from midnight to 1 a.m., we get 8 calls, 4 are out of station 1. Is it an easy process to just kind of run a report like that, or is it going to be a lot of manual? I
will tell you right now, in ETI, I'm going to say it's impossible because the program is so convoluted that that's why those categories aren't even filled on there. When we get Firehouse back up and running in January, let me see what I can do as far as running a report of when I know I did a report, I think, for you one time that our busiest times are Tuesdays and Fridays during this amount of time, and that information was gotten off of the Firehouse RMS program. So once we get back into Firehouse in January, I can take a look at least a month's worth of data, say January to February, and give you a better answer in February, if that's all right.
Yep. Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Wilmy?
Yes.
Good evening. You have in front of you the monthly report for November. On the first page there, that's up, you'll see that there were 1,279 police calls for service. Actually, there were 409 fire CAD incidents, and you can read the numbers, but I will tell you that I added those up, and it's 7,805 total calls in the dispatch during the month of November. On the next page, you'll see again our calls for service, at 1,279 for the month. You'll see year-to-date, we are actually down 1,755 calls, which obviously is a good thing. And that's going to be reflected in our offense reports too as we go down. Year-to-date, the citations are down somewhat. The property damage accidents continue to be up by about 60. And we were down in injury accidents most of the year, all year, in fact, up to now, but we've caught up with those where we're just slightly up. We're actually about the same. And that's not uncommon this time of year with the increased accident, or with the weather and such. At the beginning of the year, of course, the wintertime is kind of slow for citations. You usually get, you write more citations when the weather is good. People drive faster, they're less cautious or what. But in noticing these stats, we're going to address the citation issue a little. I don't want us to become, and I won't name any local communities, but I don't want us to become any kind of a speed trap or whatever. And we're doing fairly well in our accidents considering the volume of traffic through the township. But at the same time, I'd like to see us get our citations up a little bit. Until we start dramatically decreasing the accidents, I think it's warranted to have the citations up there. So we'll address that when the weather gets better in the spring. You'll see in our offense reports, the ones of note, burglaries, we continue to be way down. Robberies were like 1/3 or almost 1/3 of where we were last year. Domestic violences, which you can't predict, again, are down. Assaults, you can't really do anything preventive with that. They're down. We're up 4 identity thefts. We're down 12 in the OVIs, which is not significant. We're down considerably. It's small numbers, but we're down considerably in the sex crimes. Thefts, we're up, and I think I've talked about this before. A lot of those thefts, of course, Walmart can be a district by itself with all the thefts we have there. But at the same time, we've had a lot of car break-ins. And a little bit later here, I'll make reference to a letter that we received from one of the Metro Park Rangers thanking us for the apprehension, the identification of a suspect and the eventual arrest of a suspect that had broken into a number of cars there. But we continue to suffer those break-ins in the cars, and 'tis the season. This time of year, we even get increased amounts, but we continue to make arrests on those too. Without getting into too much detail in a public setting, we've got some equipment that the detectives use with surveillance, and we've made, no exaggeration, probably 15 to 20 arrests, catching them red-handed using some of this equipment. So the detectives are doing a real good job on that. And you can see all other reports were down slightly also. Detective caseload stats, there were 66 cases, and again, I won't go through all these numbers. You can kind of read them, but they cleared 31 of those 66 cases, and the other numbers speak for themselves. I won't go through all that. The next page, DEA task force. They're in the process of opening cases and continuing large-scale cases that will probably result in some pretty big seizures down the road. No surprise, a lot of stuff happens in Lima and ends up here. And the one thing of note that I'm hopeful that we end up getting a substantial portion of that. As you can see, the home and property valued at $240,000 that was seized, and of course that's got to go through the court system and such, but that could be pretty good to us financially. Next page, community affairs summary. The community affairs officers assisted Sylvania Area Family Services with their Thanksgiving donation drop-off. We actually started an officer part-time, you didn't see this before, in that bulk currency task force, and that again could be financially helpful to us. He is only doing it on a part-time, but basically they get into issues of money laundering and some things like that. It's not really explained in here, but we decided to contribute an officer to that task force, along with a couple of suburban agencies, and I think Toledo Police have a couple assigned to it. But again, that's on a part-time basis, and that officer understands that he actually came from community affairs. He's one of the ones that was teaching DARE, is no longer teaching DARE, and he realizes that when we need him too. The schools, we continue to conduct the DARE lessons. We also had a couple of graduations in November, and then the community affairs officers continue to conduct the emergency evacuation drills at the different elementary schools. You can see the two that they actually did in the month there. Again, with the cold weather and especially the snow over the last week or so, there really hasn't been requests for the speed trailer. We haven't gotten any calls lately here for any kind of increased enforcement in the neighborhoods. And then Citizens Patrol Group contributed 15 hours of service to the community. Next page, which is page 8, the canine stats. We have a very good, very proactive officer that took over the canine, as you know, and he continues to be very active out there as far as making the stops and such. In the second paragraph there, he had his first opportunity to track a suspect, which was pretty neat, and he tracked him to, I'll let you just read it, but through a large wooded area, he was able to stay on the scent and found a hole in the fence where the burglary suspect got through, and probably got in a car there, but at the same time showed his effectiveness in tracking suspects, felony suspects and such. And this officer is also very articulate and very good, as you know, and he did a couple of demonstrations at a school and for the Sylvania Explorers, which we have, I believe it's 4 kids that reside in the township, and there's 3 kids that reside in the city that are part of the Explorer Post that want to be police officers, and real good kids, and so they got to learn about the canine also. And lastly, there's a couple of photos there, I believe you'll have, of some of the canine activities. And lastly here, I just wanted to mention that Detective, he's a park ranger, Detective Steve O'Neill, emailed me a very nice letter reference to, well, he attached a copy of a letter. There was a lady that she was out jogging for all of 20 minutes on November 19th in the middle of the afternoon, 2:45 p.m. at Wildwood. And her car was broken into, and unfortunately quite a bit of property was stolen out of the car. And through the efforts of our officers, some equipment, some cameras we set up there and such, we were able to identify and later apprehend this suspect when he came back to hit some more cars and such. And specifically, I'd like to mention Sergeant Colwell, Detective Sini, Detective Zamania, Officer Bill Towson, and Sergeant Bob Hankinoff. Were all instrumental in putting that case together for the park, and again, that lady was real appreciative. So with that, that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Thank you very much.
Good job. Thanks. Busy time of year for you guys, I would imagine.
Yeah, it is, and the snow doesn't help.
Get that Huffman.
Next up is the administrator. I'll start out with the 2 resolutions I have. They're both accepting a street lighting petition and setting a date for a hearing Basically, one is Plat 6 and one is Plat 7. If you want to combine them, that's fine.
Offer 13-132 and 133 to accept the petition for street lighting and set a date for the hearing.
Second.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Jensen?
Yes.
What date do you want for the hearing?
The hearing is set for January 7th at 4 o'clock.
Okay, so it'll be January 7th at 4 o'clock.
And Linda also wanted to be known that they had paid up on all their other lighting assessments, so we're all good with that. The next thing I had is at the beginning of the meeting, Chief, I got it. I mentioned I want to give you an update for the fire station number 1. The chief and I have been working on trying to get this finished. We had some change orders ready to go, but there's some minor changes that we had to do, and so we couldn't get it onto this agenda. It will be on our January 7th agenda. But I wanted to give you a report anyways, which has those change orders in there, and they're real close, within a couple bucks. So let me pass the report out, and I'll go over it.
Thank you.
Let me start out by the first column, the estimate, and that number hasn't changed since the chief and I sat down with, I think it was probably last March, and came up with what we wanted in a fire station and the size of it, and came up with a budget, and at that time, it was $2,209,000. Today, with the change orders in there that I will be presenting on January 7th, it's $2,324,693, $114,993 over our original estimate from last March, which is 5.2%. And I think that is really good in that from last March to today, we're only at 5.2% over our original estimate. I think that shows a good team. Once again, I've said this last time, Mosier, the chief, Vetter, have all done a great job at trying to control costs and sticking pretty close to the budget. On the second page, if you want to just talk about the change orders, I listed the change orders for fire station number 2, change orders for fire station number 3, and the change orders for fire station number 1. I gave the dollar amount and the percent of the budget, and as you can see, fire 2 was 4.38%, fire number 3 was 6.94%, and change orders for fire number 1 was only 3.5%. So the lowest, once again, in the amount of change orders we had on the fire stations. And once again, as I said before, that indicates the team we had did a real good job on that. The last thing I'll say is of the money we had available for the fire station, as you know, we had a $200,000 contingency at a couple meetings ago. I didn't think we would need to touch that, but when the final figures come in, we had to tap the contingency for $9,125, which we had $200,000 there. I didn't want to do it, but...
I just want to say on the record, I was right. Over budget.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. But also, I think you said 3.5 million.
It doesn't make a difference. We're not done yet.
No, we're done.
We're not done yet.
One of us is done, so we'll move forward.
Mr. Genowine, don't start, because I'll start back on you, so leave it go.
So that's my report. Like I said, originally I wanted the change orders on for this meeting, but we just, there's some final figures that we were debating, whether it's, $100 here, $100 there. It was very minor, and they'll be on for January 7th.
Good work, John.
Thank you.
Yeah. Everybody.
Everybody.
Fiscal officer?
Well, we have our month end for November, and you can see on our expenditures, we always seem to start with that. They should be at almost 92% if we were running, but we're below that in all of the expenditures for each one of our accounts, and so that's a good thing. And as you can see, our revenues in all of the funds are good. General fund, roads, Police and fire, actually fire will get up over 100% when we get our final EMS payment in. And so that should be a good thing, that's still to come. And then the fire department, I think, is about almost $500 off on our revenue projections, but you can see 99.9, probably 99 on the police fund. So all of our funds, our revenues are good, and most importantly, I think it's really the expenditures that we can control. As you know, we can control those more. The revenues come in based on levies and other sums that are kind of fixed, but we control our expenses, and we've done a good job, the departments have, of controlling our expenditures. So that's a November report. I'm pleased with it. I think it looks good.
That's great. Thanks, Chief, Dave.
Oh, did it? Oh,
They
did
pay
it?
that on a quarterly basis?
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's in before year end, and so this will be good. We'll be over 100% in the fire, and that's a good thing. And with that, I have some resolutions. This first one is 13-134 to transfer appropriations. And the details on the second page, these are just smaller numbers that are being moved around, and you can see the list of those things that are there. And so I would ask for a motion.
I'll offer Resolution 13-134, transfer appropriations.
Second.
Hey, Mr. Hedek.
I was reading it, but I guess, all right, Jeff.
Oh, there they are.
We had a chance to look at those prior to tonight.
Is that Kevin?
All right.
Yes?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
And the next one is Resolution 13-136, reducing appropriations in various accounts. And the one of note is for $140,000 out of the Cyclone Bridge, and that must not have...
I'll give you the, I'm sorry, 134, is that what we're dealing with?
We just approved 134, we're on Resolution 13-135.
And that's
Increase the
Oh, here it
appropriation.
is, I had them out of order here, yeah, sorry about that, out of order, 135, and that, and here they are, and you notice this demolition escrow account, zoning can maybe help us, but this is a property on King Road, I believe.
I don't know where
Darryl.
it's at.
Just off it.
But we've gotten,
Demolition.
For 5010 Heather Place.
oh, Heather, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the insurance company has paid us the monies, and we're holding the monies, and the thing I was gonna ask you, Darryl, on that is can't we just, if we want, demolish that and then reimburse ourselves for that money? I mean, we're holding this money,
Well, it's already been demolished.
okay, and so, okay, and so we have to then just pay for it.
Pay for ourselves.
Why are we holding it in escrow?
They probably haven't submitted the bill.
We got the money from the insurance company before all that was done,
Okay,
and so we held it until it was done. And now that it's done, we'll
okay, we'll pay it,
we hold it as the hammer, make sure it's cleaned up.
okay.
Offer 1330, 135, decrease
Did you have any
appropriation,
questions
cover
on
balance.
28,000, or
No.
are we okay with that?
Nope.
The 28,000 was for the KME engine
KME
repairs.
engine
KME
repairs
engine.
that we're holding, and
Yeah.
hopefully, we approve of get the engine back, we'll probably.
If we ever get it
take
back.
that out.
Is
We're
that,
just holding.
we're gonna be responsible for 28 grand once we get these engines back?
No, sir, that's the 28,000 is for the accident, the insurance company.
Okay.
They wanted to pay KME to repair the engines, and I told them we weren't gonna give them anything until we're satisfied with the repairs, so
Correct.
we're holding that check.
Okay.
Those are both trust accounts.
Okay,
Not revenue, they're not expenditures.
right.
I already made the
Kevin
motion.
made the motion, and.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Adia?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
And now we'll get 13-136.
36, yeah.
And $140,000, can you give us?
That
an
that
outline of
is, at the beginning of the year, we estimate what the OPWC is going to give us in grants and do work. We have to record that as a revenue, record it as an expenditure. There's no cash that transfers hands. They don't give us any money, we don't give them any money, just have to recognize it. Well, we didn't get the full amount that we anticipated at the beginning of the year. In order to because we have to make sure the thing's equal, we have to lower that.
Okay.
That's why when I go to the OPWC, they got 25 million sitting in the pot that they didn't spend it all on, so. Offer 13-136, reduced appropriations.
Second.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
There's a meeting on that on Thursday, just so you know, too.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, resolution 13-137. And this is a transfer of funds, and this has to do with interest earned in the road, police, and fire funds.
And you approved the appropriation on two.
Meetings,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is just actually moving the money.
Right.
I'll offer resolution 13-137, transfer of monies.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
And lastly, resolution 13-138, and this is the township's annual appropriation resolution. And this is our budget that's attached here, appropriations.
It's just on the website, so if we approve this tonight, people can go look at it, or?
It's not on the website.
Yeah, but once you approve it, we'll,
Okay.
We'll put it on there. Not that book, but we'll put it.
Yeah. Okay.
and I just want to say that we had the budget hearings, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but the dollar amounts in the budget is the same as were presented at the budget hearing in total.
I'll offer resolution 13-138, 2014 budget appropriation.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Haddad?
No.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Yes? That's all I have.
Nobody signed for the, open discussion.
I just want to say why I voted no, because we're deficit spending, and I told you last year I wasn't going to approve a budget when we're on deficit spending. Thank you. Nobody signed up for hearing it?
Nobody signed up?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I would like to offer a motion to adjourn at 6:36.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
I want to wish everybody a happy Merry Christmas, and
Happy holidays,
You're a great
Jim, I'm
neighbor.
going to leave this here, because it doesn't work. My office is open up, so the bags in there too.
Okay, thank you.